Yo, 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 what is going on, team? This is Art, and I just had a $30,000 trading week. This is going to be a quick little recap, just going over my trades, how I did each day, and overall just general market sentiment going into the next week, starting April 12th, 2021. I just want to say that I'm very grateful to be in the position that I'm in, and overall, the market conditions have been very easy to play and have been paying out quite nicely. So let's get right into this. So firstly, let's just start off with Monday. Monday was my biggest day. This was a $20,000 day. I had swung Tesla calls going into Monday from Friday, the 2nd of April. This was because of the setup that it had on that day. So let me pull up Tesla really quick for you guys. And I'll just move my profit over here. So Tesla on that day, this was on the 5th. So this huge gap up that we had, I thought that we were a little oversold in terms of Tesla, and also we had just only gotten this gap fill. So I was expecting us to kind of bounce on this 200 SMA line. And pretty much what I had wanted to do with this play was pretty much just fill the gap and then kind of go back upwards off of this 200-day moving average. So I bought at the end of the day at close, about maybe a minute and a half before close. And so what happened was that over the weekend on Sunday night, the Tesla analysts were upgrading the stock. So the most notarized of the bunch was Wedbush, and they pumped their target up. And so the first thing I did after finding that news out was be up early and watch the price action. And I had known, because I had 5 contracts at the time, you can kind of expect a pretty large return off of 5 contracts. You can kind of see that it did push up to 716 here, and what we saw was this kind of push and then quick sell-off as people were taking profits. I was having the exact same kind of idea here. So when it came to Tesla itself, as soon as the market opened, I market sold, and I took profit there. So that was a pretty decent profit in terms of like what we were actually doing. And so that was my biggest play of the week on its own, was quite the large sum. And this was, again, mainly just off of how it got upgraded, and I guess I got lucky there, but I got a $14,115 profit off of that play alone. And the rest of my positions included playing Affirm. I actually ended up cutting that for a $500 loss. It did pump up a little bit, but I don't have a screenshot for that one. And then I took a $4,100 profit on Amazon and a $2,700 profit on Costco. So really quick, here's Amazon. Now let me go back to the 5th. If only I'd held all my calls, to be honest, that would have been very nice. But pretty much what I had done with Costco, here's a 5-minute chart. I'll pull up an hourly. But here's the 5th of April. That is right here. I noticed that we had a crossover quite a bit ago, back in like late March, and we never fully crossed it downwards. So I was still under the impression that we would have a very bullish uptrend. And so as soon as we actually ended up getting into April 5th, we were still on this overbought side, but this was mainly a continuation of this crossover. And also when you look at it in terms of a 5-minute chart, let me give us our March 5th again, or April 5th really quick. So notice that we had kind of just hung around this little SMA cluster of 50, 20, and 9 SMA. We also had a crossover right in the morning. So I had originally been very kind of neutral to bullish. But as soon as I saw that we were kind of just hanging out on top of these SMA lines, I was very positive that we would end up moving to the upside. And so what I ended up doing was playing it to the upside here. I did a very small scalp, but the other play that I had taken was this bull flag on the 5-minute chart along with 9 SMA support. So I actually played around this red candle. I was initially red by quite a bit, I think about $1,000, but it ended up pushing on this 9 SMA and heading up higher, and I took profit around that 3,200 break. As we saw, from 3190 up to 3200 was where I took profit, and overall it played out pretty nicely. And then in terms of Tesla, that was just the main play, the gap up. So again, that was kind of a lucky play. And also I had Costco there. So Costco, Again, I'm a mega bull for Costco, but let me pull this thing up for you guys. So notice we have a crossover right here from after hours, and we also have this reversal to the upside at 355. So once I saw this crossover, I was extremely bullish on Costco, and so I just took a call position in the money, and I took a $2,700 profit as it pumped from 355 all the way up to 360. That's where I took profit, and overall that position came up quite nicely, totaling that day out to $20,367.50. Next was the Tuesday. Tuesday plays were April 6th. So here was how I did. I didn't have a full screenshot, unfortunately, but I played Apple and I played Costco. So really quick, I'll just put our Apple stuff right here so you guys can see. So firstly, Apple. I wish I held my stuff from that day because, again, that was another thing that if I held all of these things, I would be up like absolutely crazy. So like here, for example, I'll even just show you guys. So here's Apple. I was holding 23rd of April 125C. So 23rd of April 125C. Keep in mind it's at 133 right now. 125C are currently worth $8.50. And at the time that I had them, they were worth about $4 each. So I would have made 100% on 50 contracts. So, $20,000 if I had held. So, obviously hindsight's 2020, but still overall paid out quite nicely. So let me pull back over to April 6th. And what I did here was, is kind of ugly, keep that in mind, but we had a crossover right around this kind of 200 SMA bottom. I noticed that we bottomed out at 126. And so coupled with 200 SMA, I took long and I took profit around 126 and a half. And just due to the sheer amount of contracts that I had was what, kind of allowed me to make a decent amount on this trade. And then it quite quickly just pulled back. But overall, in terms of RSI, it was very neutral for the day. So it was kind of an either way could have gone. And so overall, Apple was just a really quick scalp trade. Next, I'm going to pull up my Costco. I'm a massive fan of Costco. I think Costco pays extremely well in terms of what you're doing. So for Costco, let me see. So I took a $27.52.5 profit, a $1,050 profit, an $875 profit, and then I took an $1,190 loss. So overall, I still came out green, but it could have been a little better because I know that the last trade on the bottom was the one that actually ended up taking a little bit of my pot. But that said, let me just go over that really quickly. And mainly, again, the thing with Costco that I've been enjoying quite a bit is that the premiums move quite a bit, even with the small movements that it has, because it moves only about 1% a day. But overall, the way that the contracts kind of move around when it comes to these small moves is the thing that I really like the most. So one thing that you'll be noticing is in every single one of these screenshots that I show you guys, I'm going to be taking money from Costco quite a bit. And I mainly found this very recently that Costco pays out really well. But pretty much what I saw was this crossover event right in the morning, which is why I took those 360 calls. I took them for two different expiries. The 23rd expiry was because I wanted something a little more comfortable, and the 16th expiry was because I was doing a quick little day trade. And then I took a 262.5 put and then a 265.2 call, and that's the one that I took a loss on. So pretty much here's what happened. The initial position was off of this reversal candle to the upside. We had a crossover. RSI was pointing pretty neutral going into bullish. So I took this long up to about 50 SMA until we started seeing a little bit of rejection. And so I waited for that to kind of subside. I waited for 9 SMA or 20 SMA to kind of catch us. And so I played from there, and that's what ended up landing me that like $1,000 profit. And from there, I kind of just waited around for the push above 50 SMA again, because we didn't fully cross the MACD lines. So notice right here, we broke above the 50 SMA and we pushed even higher. So with that in mind, I was very bullish in terms of Costco. And so what happened was I took calls from the 50 SMA break and I said profit target around 162 and a half. It did go all the way up there, but I ended up really liking the premium push that we had. So I ended up taking profit on it pretty quickly because of the huge spread that it had closing up really quickly. So almost as soon as I bought, the profit came out like instantaneously. And so what I did was overall just enter here, waited for this bull flag. I didn't like this candle that kind of pushed right back down, but we ended up taking profit around 262. And so overall, I mean, that paid out pretty nicely. And what I had thought was, because of this candle kind of coming down a good bit, was that we would be short. And so that's where I took that. Short position. And so that was where I made that 875. And so overall, I thought, all right, cool. We're gonna head down a little bit, back maybe to 50 SMA. We didn't fully do that. I just ended up kind of liking the number that I saw on my screen. But I noticed that we started getting close to the 9 SMA again, which was gonna push us even higher. So I sold out of my put options. And so here's where I made my mistake. I got greedy, and this is where I lost $1,100. So notice right here, we did start pushing up higher and higher, but we started getting into the very overbought area in terms of RSI, and that should have been my signal, along with the MACD starting to kind of cross back to the downside, was to exit that position, because at one point I was up about $1,000, but I held on to it because I was very cocky. And so what happened was that it dumped, and I had to stop out my loss, and that's where that $1,100 loss came from. But overall, I came out to $34.87 for Costco on that day for April 6th, on top of my original $11.25. So that put me at a solid $46.12.5 for the day. And overall, the performance so far is about $24,000 for the week. This is on Tuesday. Next, I have Wednesday. Wednesday was a loss day for me. So here's Wednesday. Overall, I was just not in the right mindset. I was revenge trading a lot. So notice I have a $4,150 loss, and I also have a $17.44.40 loss. I did take wins on Amazon and on Costco. Costco, again, $27.25 win. It did definitely help me offset stuff. And the main thing that happened was this QuantumScape. So it's still been selling off since I played it. But what ended up happening was that QuantumScape has a really terrible spread. So this is kind of what ended up screwing me, because I was unable to exit and it continued sliding. And so firstly, I didn't really have a chance to exit, because every time I would try to exit a position here, what would happen was that it would update the spread. The spread opened up to about $1.50. So obviously, terrible idea. And it's not even that I had a bad expiry, but it just didn't have that opportunity to come back with those kind of bad spreads, because I entered around right here looking for a bull flag setup. So I played calls, and it did end up running, but I was still red despite it being up here because of those really bad spreads. And that's why I'm no longer playing QuantumScape. And then this ended up turning into a head and shoulders. So I panicked trying to get out, and it keeps sliding as I'm trying to get out, and I didn't want to market sell, which is hindsight. I should have just market sold it, because every time I would try to sell, the spreads would update and I wouldn't be able to get out. And so that's where I took that massive loss of $4,150. And then for Apple, I took a loss there as well. I tried to short Apple on this day. Bad idea. So Apple just shredded the entire day. I got faked out right here at the beginning of the day. It sold off right in the morning. I was like, okay, cool. That confirms to what I wanted it to do. And so I entered around here, and I had to stop out at the 200-day moving average. So overall, that was what landed that loss. The good trades that I took was Costco. Again, I'm telling you guys, Costco is the best. So Costco, I actually ended up playing here for a long, and that was off of the 357 support that we had seen in previous days. So that was over here where we gapped up. So this 357 mark, notice that we kind of double bottom in this area both times. But at the time that we had this kind of pump, we had crossed over. I hadn't entered it just yet, but this was a little bull flag setup, and I liked that it had a reversal, so I took it to the upside, and I sold it almost at that 360 mark. But I did know that that would be some sort of resistance, because it is a whole number. So I ended up taking a 27.25 profit from this mark at around 358.5 up to about 360, and that's what helped me offset quite a bit of losses for that day. So overall, the profit for the week so far is about $21,000. And then let me get over to Thursday. So Thursday was, I pull this up, boom, boom, put that over here for you guys. And so on Thursday, I I took a $28.71 profit, so that actually ended up negating the majority of the loss that I had taken on the previous day. If it'll show it, here it is. So 21.87 versus 28.99. So from the 2 days that we just had, I only lost about $20. So I'm glad that I did take those wins that where I could. I made sure to capitalize where I could. And notice right here again, Costco. Here's Apple and Tesla. So Costco was a $22.75 win, Apple $7.25, and then Tesla was a $129 loss. Really quick, just to explain my Tesla loss. I accidentally entered puts when I was supposed to be in calls, so I just immediately closed it out and I left it alone. Apple was already at 130. I played from, let me pull this back up for you guys. So it had already gapped up in the morning, and this is when, it just continued pushing even higher. And so what I did, I just played it from 129 to 130. That was just the main play, and then it continued heading up higher, but I only played this huge pump in the beginning because I had the reversal along with a crossover and a bullish RSI. And then Costco was right here. So let me pull this here for you guys. Okay, so Costco was also another day where I just kind of took it long off of 200-day moving average. So notice we crossed over and we had a neutral RSI. So crossover at about 360. I took long, had the reversal ping, and I took profit at around 362.5. Mainly because of, again, it did shoot up all the way to 366. I missed this initial push and I didn't take it short, but I did know that the 360 mark was a support level that we've kind of had of a historic mark. So once we had the crossover, I was very comfortable taking it long from here. And so it kind of bottomed out and went up to 262.5. I had actually called this out in my Discord chat. I'm like, hey, if it hits 360, I'm taking long, and that's what I ended up playing. I took profit there, and then I called it a day mainly because it was a little too stressful. So that day ended up coming out to 28.71, and that puts my profit back at 24,000 for the week. And then we have today. So here's my monitor tab. Here's all my entries. Oh shit, let me get rid of my thing here. So overall for the day, I came out to almost $4,500 for the day, and so I played a lot. I played Amazon, and I played Costco, and I also played Home Depot, which is a name I don't really do. But really quick, let me just go over Home Depot. So what Home Depot had that I really liked, and again, this is kind of a random name. This is not something I normally play, but I noticed that Home Depot had this 4-hour/hourly bull flag right here, almost like a descending triangle. And so I kind of had an idea of, if we hold on to our 50-day moving average, I'll take it long as we have that kind of triangle break to the upside. And so once we did break, we pushed this reversal to the upside at 312. And so that put me into a very confident spot of, if we can get above 316 today, we'll probably run this thing into new higher highs, into new all-time highs. And so we saw this thing kind of push to the upside, and the first candle went all the way from 316 up to 319. I took profit at about 318.25, and that's where I made that initial profit. That was that $2,100 on Home Depot. That's $2,150. Next we have Costco. Costco, I'm telling you guys, I will not show this thing anymore, but Costco pays like crazy. So it was a $14.67 profit on Costco. That was today. And pretty much I just played it long off of the 200-day moving average at this 360 mark. Again, that almost historical low that we have for Costco. It usually bottoms out at whole numbers, 360 in this case. And it was also the 200-day moving average. So notice, bounces here, pushes higher. So that was just my first little scalp. It was about $800. And so we went from here to about 262, but I didn't really have a giant position size. And so from there, I took profit and I kind of waited around because it was a little flat. And then again, once we got near this 200-day moving average, I took it as a bounce. And then we also had the reversal to the upside, which is why I took it even higher again, back to 262.5, which was the remaining $600 that I took in profit. Lastly, I had Amazon. Amazon was an $800 profit. I mainly played it towards the end of the day while I was having lunch. We had posted a possible reversal at the end of the day, so I just took it long, and that's what ended up paying out pretty nicely. I didn't want to swing anything for Amazon in particularly going into the end of the day, but I am currently sitting in QQQ. I did buy shorts at the end of the day, mainly because I saw that our VIX was heading up towards the end of the day. So I saw this kind of starting to happen, and I was not a fan of the market shooting upwards and VIX going up as well. And so I took a QQQ short at the end of the day, and so far, I mean, I'm in the money now, and I'm going to be swinging that going into Monday, April 12th. So overall, I mean, I came out to about $29,500 for the week. I'm going to round it up to $30,000 for the sake of the YouTube title. But overall, the profits were really strong, and my live streams were pretty hype. I did have a few lost days or a few lost trades. But overall, I made sure to capitalize where I could, and I made sure to keep a level head. And so overall, I was able to mitigate losses where I could, and then move forward and continue to post profits, because I could have just called it a day on Monday and just not traded for the week. But overall, I wanted to, keep myself in the market so I can continue playing. That kind of concludes today's video. Sorry for not uploading recently. Again, I've been really busy. I do want to get more into regularly uploading, kind of like I did at the very beginning of this. School's been kind of a lot, and then trading's been kind of a lot too. I'm currently working on a course. That way, you guys can learn exactly what I'm doing here, and so you guys can read my set of indicators and everything. That'll include stuff like this and the reversal scripts and stuff. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think that the market is kind of a little overheated when you look at it in terms of /NQ or /ES. I find that it's very difficult to want to continue taking this thing to the upside. I might be foolish for saying that, but in terms of daily charts, we're pushing very much into the overbought zone. So even on like ES daily is currently overbought, and last time we had an overbought spot, we did kind of fall back down a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pullback going into next week, as we see maybe a little bit of a sector rotation into finance. But overall, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Once again, I think that it is important to know your plan before you enter anything and know when to cut losses. And yeah, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I am always open to suggestions. I'm trying to figure out the whole mic audio thing. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it's a little too quiet. Sometimes it's a little too loud. But I appreciate the feedback no matter what. So that said, I will be uploading on Sunday for a Sunday Stock Talk, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.